Hi there. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast with me, Russell Davis. A lot of my clients, we boil down to it, a lot of their presenting challenges and problems, the thing that gets in their way for creating more or they want in life and being more who they want to be in life is a story, an unconscious story. They're not enough. They're not enough in one form or another. So what does that mean? What does that mean? How does that impact us? And what can we do about it? How can we let go of the story of not being enough? What possibility can that bring you? Well, let's dive in and find out. One of the most common words that comes up with clients is actually enough. Where so many of my clients, and I can relate to this personally, think in some way that they're not enough. That we're trying to prove we're enough in some way, and we do that through various means. People find looking for a sense of enoughness, whether it's in status or validation or money. Then part of us thinks we need to prove to society, that our tribe, the world, that we're good enough, that we're worthy of love, that we're worthy of respect, and that we're a valid member of the tribe. And it does come back to tribal thinking. The three parts of our brain, the oldest part of our brain is the reptilian brain, top of our spinal cord, it's the fight or flight response. Then wrapped around that in our brain's development is the mammalian brain. That part of our brain thinks our survival is dependent on being part of a tribe. Mammals are pack animals. Their survival is dependent on that. Then wrapped around that in our brain's development is the cortex, the human brain. But emotional intelligence is not fully formed to later teenage years. So prior to that, the mammalian brain is quite dominant. And it wants to prove that we are worthy of our position in the tribe, where people think good of us and don't judge us negatively. That we're enough, we're good enough. We're good enough for love and acceptance. And often it comes down to parents, where as children we're trying to prove we're worthy of their love, trying to meet their expectations, that we're wanted, that we're enjoyed, that we're good enough to be wanted and enjoyed. And that kind of unconscious I'm not enoughness, it can manifest itself in all sorts of ways in our lives as an adult. That not enoughness often leaks out to different areas of life, whether it's not enough time, not enough money, not enough confidence, or judging other people as not being enough, judging other people with the same kind of high standards we're trying to pull ourselves up to expect ourselves to have, to make sure we don't get negative judgment. So that not-enoughness can, not just be in one area of our lives, but all areas of our lives. That lack mentality, a lack mentality. So for me, I very much used to be this ticket character racing from one thing to another, a fear of not having enough time, sense of urgency to everything, urgency in solving problems. And actually, we take back and have some perspective, there isn't really a sense of urgency. Or not enough money, ways to, being a very well-paid corporate job, but still back then, I can't kind of have enough money now, but back then, when life is simpler, no children, less responsibilities, good salary, I can look back and I see I was hoarding. Fear of all disappearing, fear of losing my job and everything changing. Couldn't relax and enjoy the moment and enjoy life, savor life. There was a fear then. And when I left that job and became self-employed and started from scratch in a new industry, that really highlighted my fear of financial security, which comes from not enoughness, not seeing my value. And it can become a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So even my corporate life, looking back, my not-enoughness impacted my pay negotiations. I just shot myself in the foot, looking back, a number of times I can see how I didn't stand up for my own value, my worth. So not enoughness, not enough time, not enough money, not enough love. In a relationship, you know you're loved, maybe a very secure relationship in many ways, but there may be a fear of loss. Inner child still acting as if they need to prove themselves in some way, even though we think it's crazy, it's unnecessary. We contaminate our relationships with that fear and insecurity, even though we know it's not necessary. So it is like an inner child response, seeing life from this not enoughness, needing to prove ourselves, needing to prove ourselves. And like anything, for me, it's we can't stop our thoughts and our feelings. It's begin to notice our relationship with it, having more self-compassion and self-forgiveness that we do this to ourselves. It started in all innocence, before emotional intelligence was fully formed, when we're like a sponge, just soaking things in and making things about us unnecessarily. And that's just an innocent thought habits get picked up in that way. So it's having that self-compassion and seeing ourselves with innocence. And then we can begin to change our relationship with it. And for me, it's like being a diamond, perfect, pure, unique. We have nothing to prove. We all have innate worth. And when was the last time you looked at a baby and thought they weren't lovable or worthy of love? That's our essence. That's who we are. That's how we come into the world. But it gets drowned out. It gets buried by the insecure thoughts and feelings. But underneath all those, there is this sense of worthiness, okayness. And this place of abundance, going from lack mentality to an abundant mentality, I think that's about coming home, a feeling of coming home to a place where you know you're okay, you can relax and just be. That the energy of life has got your back, like in the same way a child can trust their parents have got their back. They don't have to worry about anything in life. Their home is a feeling of home, because not all children have that. We don't feel we can trust our parents have got our back, whether physically or psychologically. I didn't feel that like that for me. So we become quite self-reliant. Can't trust the world has got our back. We need to make sure we're okay. And then again, that comes from a lack of love mentality. We need to work, prove, earn love, rather than actually know we're living in a loving world with energy of life has got our back. And that's why almost the way I see that energy of life, God, life, universe, whatever language you want to put to it. For me, it's like the love from a perfect parent is why I struggle with it for some time, because I perceive the energy of life or God to be like my mum, and that's what we often do. We project our experience of our parents onto life as a whole, unconsciously expecting life to operate in the same way as our parents. So for me, that was from a place of judgment and fear of being good enough, proving your worth, rather than seeing it an unconditional love for the most loving parents that often doesn't really exist fully in the human world, because we're human. All parents are human. No parents are perfect. But if you can imagine the love of a perfect parent, unconditional love, for me, that's life. And if you can imagine life from that perspective, you can relax. You're safe. You're home. You've got nothing to prove. You've got nothing to prove. And people will judge you. That's okay. That's their fear. That's their stuff. That's their judgment. That's their opinion. But it doesn't change your worthiness, your lovability, your enoughness. It doesn't change your enoughness. That's your essence. That's who you are. And the more we can see that and hold on to that and live from that space, we'll connect with people that see us that way and love us in that way. And people don't, that's okay. They're not part of our tribe. And that's okay. And that's okay. We don't need everyone to like us and love us. And I live from that space, trying to get everyone to like me. And it's quite exhausting. It's quite exhausting. And there's no space for us. There's no space for me in that life. It was focus on what everyone else thinks, what everyone else wants, how they perceive me, rather than actually what do I want in any given moment? What do I think in any given moment? So for me, the feeling of abundance, which is for me the opposite of lack and not enoughness, is a place of home. It's a place of home, knowing you're enough, knowing you're more than enough, knowing you're worthy, you've got nothing to prove. You've got nothing to prove to anyone in this world. You came into the world worthy, loved and lovable. Because I think that's all we are. We're love in human form. We're love in human form. And the more we can relax into that, live from that space, knowing we've got nothing to prove, I think that brings more ease, more flow. And I think from that space, we're open to giving and receiving more abundantly. I think that can change everything. For not just about the amount of money we can earn or value financially, but also relaxing into this moment of time and knowing that it's okay. We have plenty of time. We are okay. We have time to be, because it's in this moment where the gold is, where the inspiration, the clarity is. One moment of inspiration is more valuable than 4 hours of perspiration. We have time. We are time. And often our fear around time is against future thinking. I just fear of not having enough time. What if I don't deliver something on time? I let someone down. They judge me. If I'm late for a meeting, it's okay. It's okay. You'll not become this, lazy person doesn't care. That's a different bunch of insecure thinking. When we're in flow, when we know we're home, we're loved, we're worthy, that's a place of love for ourselves and love for others. It's a place where, of course, we want to do our best. That's the human nature to grow and achieve and be our best. But from a place of safety, place of curiosity, place of possibility, not from a place of fear. So what if you could know you are enough, you're more than enough? What if you could know you've got nothing to prove to anyone? For me, that releases a sense of abundance, opportunity, possibility, creativity, performance. That releases a high level of performance, and you don't need that fear to be your best, to strive to be your best. We actually do our best, be our best, when we know we're enough, when we know we've got nothing to prove. That's when our true self can show up. That's when we can play in our zone of genius. So whatever's happening in life, whatever the circumstances, they have no bearing on who you are, your essence, your worthiness, your lovability, your soul. You are loved, you are lovable, you are love, loving you.